All right, hey everybody, we are back, and this one I got a pretty interesting one. It's the only topic we're going to cover today because it's probably going to take a little bit to get through. But Car Buzz did a fantastic job comparing a MOAB 392 versus a 2026 Ford Bronco Raptor in this comparison, and I'm going to throw in some of my 2 cents in here as well too as we go through it. But they did an excellent job, so we're going to see it. So if you're on the fence for these two amazing off-road rock star SUVs. They're incredible. There's no doubt about it. This is going to give you a good breakdown. So when we look at it, the MOAB, what is the MOAB? The MOAB is basically it is basically the same thing as the 392 is, the Jeep Wrangler 392. It's got the same engine. I did a video that talked about some of these differences in my MOAB video. I'll link it at the end of this. But there's really no difference other than some, you get black fenders versus color match, get a little less bronze accents. You don't get the winch included in it, but it's basically the same thing. For all practical purposes, it's a Rubicon drive setup. You got the front lockers, the rear lockers. You got everything you want there. It's basically a 392, but for $20,000 less. Bronco also is starting to get some good sales on their Raptor because they dropped the price of it like 20 grand as well too. So they couldn't sell them at what they were. So then they were doing a huge rebates on them, and then they just dropped the MSRP on them quite a bit too, if I'm not mistaken. So or they're offering a good enough rebates, but you can now get Broncos at a pretty affordable price for the Raptors. I see a lot more of them for sale, a lot more of them available, and the prices are much better than what they were before. So now you have a lower price 392, because the 392 is $104,000. This one's coming in at 20 grand less, 25 grand less. And the Bronco Raptor is down quite a bit too, making them both pretty competitive vehicles here. Both very capable off-roaders. Let's see how they compare to each other. So, it says right here, though, the Wrangler 392 returning also means that Jeep has created apex off-road status to the Ford Bronco without a fight. They're going to, they're full bore, full off-road capable, incredible power competitor. Broncos creeping up on the Wrangler sales numbers, too. It's important for Jeep not to be, cede ground on any front. So here's where we're going to dive into similarities between these two vehicles. But the sales of the Bronco are climbing. Okay, and Wrangler sales I don't think are doing a whole lot better. So they're kind of this line is getting very much more blurred where it used to be a lot more Wrangler. So they're coming in pretty close together. Let's see. Here's the specs. We have engine-wise, we got a 6.4 liter 392 V8 in this thing, and then in the Ford we got the twin turbocharged 3 liter V6, same engine out of the Raptor Ranger is what we have here. But and as far as who wins in that. It's a toss-up either way. They're both great motors. I can't argue with either one of them. This one being naturally aspirated might have a lot of advantages to people being naturally aspirated, but this motor has proven itself pretty well, too. We don't hear a lot of problems with that actual engine, so I call those pretty good. The 8-speed transmission wins hands down in a Jeep. I'm sorry, no offense, but in my opinion and what I've seen over all these years, my personal opinion, that anything that is above a 9-speed transmission just doesn't work. 10 speeds are too many, and they just can't make them work right. My opinion, my thoughts, but I do not want anything with a 10-speed. I do not like the 10 speeds. I just don't think 10 works very well. And 8 speeds rock solid in a lot of vehicles, and especially ZF 8 speeds. So I think the Trans wins there. 470 horsepower versus 418 gives a nod to the 392. Same with the torque at 470. It's interesting. 470, 470, easy to remember, but that's 30 pound-feet more torque than you're getting out of the Bronco. Time 0 to 60 time, 4.5 seconds for the Jeep. That's a second faster than what you're getting out of the Bronco Raptor. But towing, 3,500 pound max. That's pretty disgusting in today's world that a Bronco with a V8 a Wrangler with a V8 can only tow 3,500 pounds. I understand it. I understand why. I'm just saying that this is 2026. And you're telling me we can't get a Wrangler with a V8 to tow more than 3,500 pounds for people that want to enjoy the Wrangler, but they also want to be able to tow their boat, Tow some snowmobiles, go out, enjoy some stuff outside, maybe tow a small little camper, go enjoy life a little bit, and you won't let them do it. Where here, 4,500 pounds, quite a bit more. It's 1,000 pounds more. It's, almost 25% more, whatever that number is. Don't make me do math. But it's an impressive amount comparatively. That's quite an improvement. So that's pretty interesting. Dimension-wise, 192.5 versus 191, so they're basically almost the same length. The width, only 79.3 on a MOAB and then 85.7. That is quite a bit wider, 6 inches wider for that Ranger Raptor. This thing is a beast. Now, the Raptor is more dune runner, high speed, and that's what it's designed for, and it does great bump compliance, things like that, where the MOAB is not geared towards that. The MOAB is still not a wide body like the Raptor Ranger is. So this makes perfect sense for what their purposes are. So does the suspension and the front axle. Height, pretty close. Looks like the Raptor, the Bronco, is a little bit taller, and the wheelbase on their MOAB is actually a little bit longer on there, which could go, bad for breakover angle, but better for stability. Curb weight, you're about 500 pounds lighter on the MOAB 392, which is crazy because that's got that big V8 in there, you would have thought, but you're about 500 pounds lighter. Pretty crazy when you're talking about mid-size SUVs pushing 6,000 pounds. And then when we get into the off-road specs, we got 11.1 inches of ground clearance on a 392. It is on 35. So Bronco Raptor, which is sitting on 37s, comes in at 13.1. Remember, these are not true ground clearance numbers. Nobody does those anymore. These are what we call running ground clearance. Anything unsprung, which is kind of a joke. Because if you look at even on this Wrangler, you see where this is. Okay, this is obviously not going to be that high up. Same with on a Bronco. You look here, I mean, these knuckles, look how low down they are. Okay, this is not true ground clearance. This is running ground clearance. But there's where we're sitting at is 11 and 13, and we got a 2-inch tire size difference, which would only account for 1 inch of this number since it's a diameter. You only get half below the axle. But tire size 35 to 37. Approach angle 46.7, 47.2. It's basically identical. Breakover angle is a little worse on the MOAB, but again, it's because it's got the longer wheelbase than what we're getting on the Bronco right here at 30.8. Departure angle, about even on both. Fantastic. Water fording capability, 34 on the Jeep, 37 on the Bronco Raptor. That's an impressive number. 37 is pretty dang impressive, but they're both right in that almost 3 feet water kind of zone range, but 3-inch difference is pretty significant there. That's pretty interesting to see that layout on here. Now the MOAB uses a traditional solid front axle. The Bronco is independent front suspension. There are two different purposes here. That MOAB, that solid front axle, means articulation, off-road capability, rock solid strength, and dependability, durability to it. That independent front suspension like we have on here means softer ride, better bump compliance, better high-speed ride, less wallowy drive, tighter steering, as far as the feel in the wheel, all that kind of advantages, but CV axles that snap a lot easier, components that break a lot easier, and a much more delicate front end. Pick your battles, okay, whichever one you want on there. Here they talk about the tires, 37-inch, while the MOAB has 35s, but I believe putting 37s on this MOAB would not be that complicated to do. It'd be pretty easy to just literally slap 37s right on there. That's my assumption. So it would be no big deal to even them out whatsoever. And then fuel economy. We are look at how close these are. 13 and 16, basically figure highway miles. 16 and 16 are even. Even Steven for this big V8 versus their twin turbocharged 3-liter V6. And it's huge, 392, 6.4 liter, and they're coming in 16 and 16. That's pretty interesting on there. So, pretty good comparison between the two of them. Oh, and the price. Did they show that? I didn't skip over the price here. Did I? Right here, pricing. Look how close the pricing is. 80,000, 80,000 right in here. Starting price with fees. MSRP with the fees here, you go 82,000, 82,500. So about $600, $700 difference between the two of them, but so close together in price. pretty interesting. These are some serious vehicles right here. There's no doubt about it. So questions, comments, anything you got, put them down below, or anything you want to add to it. Appreciate it and would like to hear it. Thanks for watching.